inside of us. And it's wonderful when we have the courage to tell it.
And the truth shall set you free!
Welcome to 8192 The Truth with Brother Sand and the Godfather. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also follow the show on Twitter at 8192 The Truth and on Facebook at facebook.com/8192 The Truth. Now, here's your host, the Godfather, Joel D. Supernog.
All right. The biggest fight card, the biggest fight in UFC history would not be complete if we didn't get Lad's pick. We're going to add something new to this, is we're going to get Miss H's picks, and she knows nothing about MMA, but we're going to see how she does. All right, Lad, let's start off with Aspen Ladd versus Tanya Evinger.
That's a really good fight. Aspen Ladd is undefeated. I don't really know too much about her. I know she's missed weight once.
Well, we know her name's Ladd.
Yeah. So I have to go for Aspen Ladd because she's the only person that I've heard of that has even my last name.
We gotta go with Aspen
Ladd.
Oh, that's a cool name. All right. Miss H is also going with Aspen Ladd. Now the next fight we're gonna go to is Felice Herring versus
Felice Herrig.
Felice Herring versus who?
Felice Herrig versus Michelle Watterson.
All right, sorry, lad. Who you picking on that one?
I am picking Felice Herrig. I think she has slightly more well-rounded abilities than Watterson. I think Watterson's lost 3 out of her last 4 fights. I think Watterson just got a win recently, but I think Herrig's going to win the fight because she's more well-rounded.
All right, cool. Miss H is going with Watterson. Now we go to OSP versus Dominic Reyes.
Another really fun fight. I think Reyes has slightly better striking than OSP. He looked really, really good against Jared Cannonier. And OSP just recently lost to Alir Latifi. OSP does have more experience, but I am picking Reyes.
All right, cool. I didn't see that coming. Miss H is going with OSP on this one. Now we go to the Beast versus Volkov.
2 big heavyweights going at it. Volkov looked really good against Verdum, but everybody keeps complaining about the Lewis Ngannou fight. Even though it was boring, I did like what Lewis did in that fight. I think Lewis has slightly more experience than Volkov, and that experience will pay off, and he's been in the kind of the later rounds. So I'm picking Lewis to win by either second round TKO or by decision.
All right, so when I asked Miss H who she was picking on this one, she said, who are they? And I said, Volkov versus the Beast. She said, who's the Beast? I said, does it really matter? She said, yes. And I said, okay, Derek Lewis wants to punch everybody in the face that beats up a woman. So she, of course, picked the Beast. Now, to the co-main event, Big Ferg against Anthony Pettis. 2 world champions.
Yeah. Even though Pettis looks so good in his fight with Michael Chiesa, Ferguson's won. I think he's on a 9-fight winning streak and is not even the real champion, which is amazing how deep the lightweight division is. Ferguson, I think, is slightly more well-rounded than Pettis. Pettis hasn't been doing good lately besides that fight with Chiesa, but I'm going for Ferguson, but I would not mind an upset.
Really? Yeah. Now, are we going with Big Ferg because we like Big Ferg? Or do you realize how tough it is to come back from that knee injury in 5 months?
Yeah, I mean, his leg was all bashed inside and out. It looked like someone beat him up with a baseball bat.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about about how amazing that is later in the show. But let's get Lad's final pick. And Miss H. Miss H, who are you going with on? Oh, that's right. She's going with Pettis. I think she's going with Pettis because she knows he was on the Wheatie box. I think she thinks he's cute. I think she's sneaking in a little bit more MMA knowledge than
She puts on.
That's right. All right, main event, and this one shocks me for the picks, both Miss H's and Lad's. Who do you got? Main event, Lad. God bless you.
Thank you. So, as much as we love Conor, and as much as we love his antics in the press conference, Conor has not fought in almost 2 years, and the Mayweather fight does not count. Khabib is undefeated and has not lost a round, barely lost a round in fighting, ever. He has that freaky style where he just takes people down and just mauls people. Not even GSP has the same type of ground and pound as Khabib. I think if Khabib can get past the first round with Conor's stand-up, like even the first 3 minutes, he will take Conor down and pound him out.
All right, so you're going with Khabib.
Yes.
Miss H is riding with Khabib, I think just because Lad is. Is that right? Oh, yeah. Kind of broke the law. That's not good in Miss H's book. But he doesn't beat a beat. All right. I will go over my picks at the end of the first portion of this podcast. Then we're going to do it a little bit different today. Then I'm going to throw it over to Kevin, and Kevin's going to talk about some things too. So thank you, Lad. Thank you, Miss H. And now let's really get into some stuff. All right. So before we get into the card and the MMA and the Conor and the Khabib, man, I gotta be real with you guys for a second. I never thought ever in the world that I would think that Twitter was better than Feibu. But you guys have cracked me on the Feibu. You've absolute cracked me on the Feibu, and I've been talking about this for a while. 80% of the fans that have come over and become my friends on Feibu, they've actually I don't even really have any more friends that I really, really, truly know on my Feibu, because I'm sure they've just drowned out the noise. Anyway, you guys are all just killing me with how diehard Trumpy you are. You don't even consider anything other than Trumpy says this, I'm going to say this. It blows my mind. I like to think of myself I'm more of a middle guy. I lean a little bit to the liberals. I do, but I also got a lot of conservative beliefs. Anyway, I'm about ready to nuke Feibu entirely because how self-righteous is that the right? That's the right, right? The right is the Republicans, correct? Okay, yes, about how self-righteous the right is. Yeah, the Dems, you kind of whine a little bit. I get that. Okay, I would rather have a little bit of whining than how self-righteous you are. And you women that somehow you're friends with me that will just go to the ends of the earth for Trump. Who raised you? Seriously, like, who raised you guys? That doesn't make any sense. At least this guy hates women. Trump hates women. Okay, he does. He just does. All right, you can say everything you want. You be a big cool guy, but he hates women. The women should never go on and drone about him. Maybe you like some of his politics, this, that, and other, but you can't be so anyway, I'm going to nuke Feibu because you guys irritate the piss out of me. All right, I'm going to nuke you entirely. I'm going to nuke my Feibu, and let me tell you why. It's got nothing to do with left and right. It's this Cav thing. Kavanaugh's a dork. He's an absolute dork, and he's going to the highest seat there is other than the president of the United States for a lifetime. This guy is a privileged
misogynist.
I don't know what that word means. Miss H says misogynist. Anyway, He's just a prep school bully dork that had the easy way through life, and now you're going to put him on the Supreme Court? I know the Republicans want to put him on the Supreme Court because it's a Roe versus Wade thing, and they want to get control of the Supreme Court. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that you guys can't even say, yeah, let's pass on this guy. Too much stuff here. Now, granted, let's get into it a little bit. Do I think he's this crazy rapist? No. Do I think he was inappropriate as hell when he was a kid? Yes. Do I think that should preclude him from being on the Supreme Court? No. I believe he should be precluded from being on the Supreme Court because he is biased. Not only is he biased, he's already come out and said he's biased. And he lied.
He lied under oath.
Miss H's. He's lied under oath. Anyway, so this is why I got to nuke you. This is why I got to nuke you guys. And listen, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal. I'm not. But when you guys refuse, when both of you sides refuse to see anything in the middle, which is this guy, and say, hey, let's just pass. There's got to be something better than him. There has to be. I mean, we're talking this guy's the best of the best. Yeah. So on my quest to completely get away from social media, the first one is happening now. I'm nuking Fabu. I'm actually nuking it. Moving over to Twitter. Only going to be there for a minute. Going to be done with the social media thing in a second. I'm hoping to move forward to a life without a cell phone in my hand. All right. Now, all that bullshit aside, what time we got, lad?
It is 7:58.
All right, so we still got 12 minutes. All right. Now, I don't like to rain on about the politics, but you guys have went too far with it. I can't stand how big of bullies you guys are because I know in your regular life you're pussies. Okay, that's the biggest thing in the world with me is the cool guys that pound their chest. When the bad man comes, they usually turn around and go home and shut up. But boy, do you guys get on Facebook and throw rocks at everybody. All right? Well, guess what? Sometime the bad man's going to knock on your door. And you're going to be like, hey, man, I'm sorry, bad man. Whatever you want here. Here's another thing. And I didn't know this. And this is some real life shit here right now. Okay? I want you to do me a favor. I want you to ask all the women in your life that you know good enough to ask this question. Have you ever been... I don't want to say sexually assaulted, or not even sexually assaulted, just assaulted by a man. I think you're going to be very, very surprised what the answer is, because I've learned some things that I didn't know. And I think when you ask that question to all the women in your life, have they been assaulted by a man? Take the sex out of it, because a lot of times there's assault before there is the sexual side of it. What is proposed that Kavanaugh did to Dr. Ford, to me, is assault. Absolutely assault. And there's probably a lot more of that than you think. So just go ahead and ask those questions. So now, I'm nuking you from Facebook, and I want you to throw rocks at me too. And actually, I'd like some of you bullies that are pounding your chest saying you want to slap Cory Booker and shit. Come see me, okay? Come see. You don't have to go be a tough guy to a politician. Come be a tough guy to a real tough guy. I might be old, baby, but there's some more fight left in this dog. All right, now let's talk about some MMA. One of the things, the biggest thing that nobody's talking about on this card, the number one thing that zero people are talking about on this card, most of the commentators and media that don't have any idea about what it takes to compete at combat. And that's what this is. This is combat. I need you to understand something. Big Ferg, tore his knee. ACL, CBL, DBL, he tore the shit out of his knee. Tore it up. Under no circumstances in the world should he be fighting another world champion in a cage 5 months after injuring his leg. Now, I've watched Big Ferg through this entire process. I've watched his social media posts, and he posts some crazy stuff on there. And then he came and he did the interviews. And what he said was, you have to listen to Big Ferg. Big Ferg is like listening to a different version of the Diaz brothers, where the Diaz brothers will talk in circles about street and this, that, and the other, and all this, hood gangster kind of jive. Big Ferg talks in circles the same way, but he talks about it in a very positive way. Whether it's about the difference between being a trainer and a coach. You have no idea what it takes to blow your knee out the way he did, and just get to practice in 5 months. Just be able to go to a combat practice, whether it's wrestling practice or jiu-jitsu practice or a boxing practice or just run sprints. It's amazing. Let alone to come back and... What time we got, lad? Okay. To come back and fight another world champion in 5 months. Nobody is talking about this. I have no idea. They're overshadowed by Conor and Khabib. I get it, but there's a reason there's more than one fight on the card, and he's pissed at everybody, and he should be. Okay, he's done everything right. He's won 9 in a row, lad.
I'll look, but yeah, I think it's 9 in a row.
All right, so 9 UFC fights in a row. This guy, he doesn't believe he can be beat, but let's stay on point here. Anthony Pettis is a former world champion. If you guys have heard me once, you've heard me 50 times say it is incredible when the athletes have more than one run to the top. It's absolutely incredible. It's harder to get to
10-fight winning streak.
10-fight winning streak. Big Ferg's on a 10-fight winning streak. When an athlete makes it to the very, very top and becomes a world champion, and then doesn't win, one of his next 2 matches to get back into that championship category. And in Anthony Pettis' case, he even went down 145 pounds. How he got there, I have no idea. 0 idea. Didn't compete very well. He came back and had a victory. Who did Pettis fight before Chiesa?
Jim Miller.
And he won Jim Miller, and it was a confidence builder for him. But more importantly, he was like, man, I was so worried about what everybody else was doing, I forgot what I was doing. I need to be the bully on the block. I'm awesome on the bottom. I don't have to get up. I can submit you from the bottom. I can beat you up on the feet. And he gets in a scrappy deal with Chiesa, and he does that. And Chiesa misses weight, comes in, takes him down, gets on top of him. And Pettis comes back and wins that fight. So Pettis, with basically back-to-back camps, he's been in the gym almost all year with a ton of confidence. This is a guy that was going to be one of the best ever in mixed martial arts. If Ferguson can beat Pettis, it will be one of the most amazing achievements in combat history. I want somebody to tell me a athlete at the highest level that came back and fought or competed at the highest level. Now, I'm not talking about a guy coming back in the NBA and playing 10 minutes a game. This is a fist fight in a cage on Saturday night. And that's a phrase that old Chael P made popular. We're talking about Chael P after the break. I'm going to get to John Jones after the break, and then I'm going to get to Conor and Khabib after the break.
Guys, you have heard me talk about them before, and I'm going to keep talking about them again. Project Build Your Life Daily. It is our newest show sponsor, and their products are phenomenal. I am currently taking the Test Booster, the Fat Burner, as well as their pre-workout. And guys, I'm telling you, it is all natural, it is all clean, and it works. I get clean, clear, sustained energy in my workout without the crash at the end. It tapers off very nicely. I typically work out in the evening, so I'm taking the pre-workout at 6 o'clock, and come 8:30, 9 o'clock, I have no issues sleeping. These products are fantastic, the ingredients are clean, and the company's mission could not be more in line with our show. Project Build Your Life Daily. Like the Godfather and I always say, you're either one day in or one day out. Get yourself in with Project Build Your Life Daily. They are offering listeners of our show 25% off. That's huge. That's 25% off your total order with the code THETRUTH at checkout. So go in, buy some protein, buy some test booster, whatever it is that you need to help get you to the next phase of your health and well-being. Throw it in the shopping cart, go to checkout, use the code THETRUTH. 25% off your total order. Anything that they sell, supplements, protein, workout gear, t-shirts, whatever it is, 25% off, guys. You cannot beat that. And I'll tell you what, just a little thing from me to you, that test booster, all natural, but boy, oh boy, is there a little extra lead in my pencil. I'm telling you what, guys, Project Build Your Life Daily. Check out their website. Check out their page on Instagram. It's Project BYLD. Again, use the code THETRUTH at checkout. Save yourself 25% off. Who's better than that? Boom.
I'm so glad I'm in a nuke Fabu. I'm just so glad. All right, I said I was going to talk about John Jones. I'm not going to talk about John Jones. We'll talk about John Jones later. I want to get into the Conor Khabib fight. You guys heard me when Conor threw the dolly through the bus, how disgusted I was. I might have even projected coming all the way back and getting ready to root for Conor. Felice Herring did an interview yesterday, and she said this guy's a scumbag. He crossed the line. Do I think Conor's a scumbag? No. But I will tell you this. When I say we don't care, our principles are wavering. we like the cool guy in the big house. As long as he's in that big house, we're going to support him. I fall for it every time. Conor's charisma is so easy to like. But there's another side of this, too. He's fighting a Russian. Not only is he fighting a Russian, a really, really huge story, especially for a guy like me, all right, is Ali, his manager, Ali. So I've been looking into this a little bit, very little bit. It's basically, Conor says, hey, man, your guy's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. He's an FBI informant, and he shouldn't be in this country. Man, I agree with him. If everything that Conor and a guy named Mike Russell, who's a journalist, and I listened to him on Ian McCall's podcast last night, and my take from it was, okay, this guy knows way, 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 way too much information. And sometimes when you have too much information, you can get overwhelmed with it. It appears that the first thing, okay, here's my question. Here's what I need to know. First thing, as an athlete, did you lie about making the Olympic team? Did Ali lie about making an Olympic team? Why? That's a big miss athletically, to lie and create false accomplishments. I know that in the jiu-jitsu world, there's fake Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts out there running businesses, and the jiu-jitsu crowd will infiltrate them and bust them. Okay, well, athletically, when you want to be an Olympian, man, that's a pretty pure sport, especially since Google came out. So did Ali lie about making the Olympic team? Did he make the Olympic team or not? Simple question. Okay, on September 11th, on 9/11, was he pulled off of a plane with 5 passports? Did he become an FBI informant? Did he play both sides against the middle? We're not talking about, is it true that he's got 2 kids that he doesn't pay child support on? If all of these things are true, man, this guy's a scumbag. This guy is a scumbag, way scummier than Conor throwing a dolly through a bus. How this guy isn't pushed out of MMA blows my mind. If these things are true. If they're not true, somebody come and put a Band-Aid on them for me. These are unforgivable. Unforgivable. Shouldn't be in the business. It has been reported that the FBI made a deal with the FBI, never went to jail, and the FBI cleared his record, expunged his record. And I heard an Ali guy say, he paid his price, and the FBI deemed it reasonable to. No, it doesn't work like that. The only reason the FBI would ever expunge your record is if you were such a narc, or they fell down the rabbit hole with you. If the FBI fell down a rabbit hole with you, yes, they would. I mean, you're talking to a guy that ruined my life by some rinky-dink federal crimes, mortgage fraud. Wish I wouldn't have done it, but my record's never going to be expunged. I was guilty. I didn't get my title on. I titled on myself, which was really, really stupid. To ruin my life, put my family in a very, very deep hole. So, for a guy that's been through the system, that knows more about the system than 90% of you, if the things they're saying are true about this Ali guy, man, this guy's the scum of the earth. He is the biggest scum in the history of mixed martial arts. Well, no, that's not true. There's guys that, well, he's up there. Let's put him at the top of the list, which goes to my point that I've said it numerous times. I cut a podcast last week that I think we should drop. I really do. I think we should drop. I don't know how long I am for this game anyway. I think we might want to drop that. So, Conor Khabib, let's get right up to the press conference yesterday. I want to talk a little bit about this. So, first off, these guys, it's too demanding. Thursday is weight cut day. To have to do a press conference at, 3? So I think 4 o'clock out there. Man, that's when you're getting ready to go cut your water. That's when hell's getting ready to come to breakfast. To have these guys go and do a press conference for us because it's now become part of the show. It's ridiculous. I heard Ariel say, he was disappointed. He was really looking forward to it. And what he was saying wasn't wrong. What he was saying was these press conferences have become part of the show. And they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. If the hay is not in the barn by Thursday, because now today we have another event, and it's the weigh-ins and the face-off. That's a big event. But the day before, the Thursday press conference has now become another huge spectacle. It's not fair to the athletes. They're cutting mad weight. And these pay-per-views, they're not going to be made or broken by Thursday's press conference. Too demanding on their time. I'm a sucker for it too. I like to watch them. But it's different than any other sport. And it's not fair to the athletes. Chael was talking about how ridiculous it is for 5-round fights. And he makes a beautiful point. And I'm not going to go into that right now. But his point, to me,
kind of correlates with the Thursday press conference. It's like, we as fans aren't. We will pull all of the meat off the bone off these athletes, and boy do we get mad at them if they do something that we don't like. Khabib went to the press conference yesterday. Conor wasn't on time. Man, Khabib's cutting weight. My first response was, oh man, Khabib, you're getting the biggest payday in your life. Conor's doing 5 times the publicity. All the people are buying this because Conor's on it. Me and Conor would do 2.5 or 100,000 less than Khabib. Lad, whatever. My point is Conor's carrying the show. But then I thought a little bit more about it as somebody that has competed and somebody that has cut weight and somebody has made some hard cuts. If you've never made a hard cut, you don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't take 2 hours to go from feeling good to questioning yourself. 7 pounds. Go ahead and fully watered. It's going to take you, at these guys' weights, it's going to take 2 hours to cut that first 7, I believe. Real close. So that's going to drain out all his water. That's going to drain out all his water, and now he's got 4 left. That's being on the positive side of this thing. That's being on, saying he's 11 over. And if he's 11 over, he's been cutting for a while. Okay, he's just got it down. So to demand this time, to demand the time from these guys is just wrong. And Khabib said, 3 o'clock, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to go cut my weight. I'm going to smash this guy tomorrow or on Saturday. All right, so let's get to my picks. I'm gonna pick a few fights. I think Felice is going to beat Michelle Waterson because she's improved more over the last few years. And she's going to beat her in a decision, or she actually might choke her out. I'm riding with the Beast just because I'm a huge fan of his and I want him to win. Volkov's younger and longer and is probably a better mixed martial arts artist, but I'm going with the Beast. Big Ferg and Anthony Pettis. I want to be shocked. But if I'm telling you guys where to bet your money and Anthony Pettis is an underdog, you've got to bet your money on Anthony Pettis. I hope Big Ferg shocks the world. I really do. It would be one of the biggest achievements in combat history, and nobody's talking about it. And then Conor and Khabib. Can he get him down? Chael's got a fight next week, and we'll do a pod on that. And I'll back up Chael's career. So Chael loses to Damian Maia, and that's the end of the road. That's it, man. You're probably going to get cut from the UFC. Let's worry about what we're going to do. Let's just worry about what we're going to do. And he gets a call to fight Miller, and he's got to cut, I want to say 35 pounds. He got to cut a ton of weight. And that fight was just all about making weight. It was just, there wasn't really anything other than talk about making weight. I mean, I go as far back as 2000 and, man, I'd have to look at it, but I go as far back in Chael's career as anybody but his mom. Okay. Anyway, so Chael wins that fight, and now he's going to fight Okami. And we looked at that fight, and we said, okay, 4 takedowns. All we need to do is get 4 takedowns. Well, that fight was shocking because Chael won the stand-up. Still to this day, probably the best performance he ever had, including Anderson, because that was the best Okami. Then we move on to the Marquardt fight, and there was a number. I think that number was 4 or 5 takedowns. There was a number. It was just get these takedowns, and the fight will take care of itself. And went on to Anderson. There was also a number on it. He got him. And, it was just something that we continue. It was just all we get this guy down. We're going to win this fight on top. Getting him down these days isn't the toughest part. Keeping him down is. This this goes only one way, is will Khabib get Conor down before he gets touched up? And I'm going to say no. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to ride with Conor. You know what? I can't listen. I'm just going to stop myself right here. I'm going to stop myself right here. I'm going to ride with Conor for the simple fact that if your manager is an FBI informant and you have ties to terrorist groups and you lied about being on the Olympic team, I can't root for anybody on your team. So I'm going to ride with Conor now, because that beats that trumps the dolly. Trumps the dolly. So I'm going to ride with Conor. All right, guys, listen, I was going to quit podcasting. And the reason I was going to quit podcasting is because, man, I'm in a bad space right now. I'm 50. What am I pushing up on 52 years old? This isn't who I thought I was going to be at this time in my life. I can make a lot of excuses for things. Poor me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just not in a good place right now. And the number one reason I'm not in a good place, and I'm not on top of everything. The number one reason is alcohol. And I've spoke about it before. It's not what the alcohol does when I go out drinking, especially now, older. It's what it does after, the 5 or 6 days after, and the depression cycle that it triggers in. And it's the catalyst for everything. For me, it goes alcohol, diet. Actually goes alcohol, mental, which is the depression, diet, exercise. It just nukes everything. And the reason I wanted to say that is because, we're going to try something new. We're going to try me throwing out my points and then Kevin coming on and, and going over them and truly having his opinion, whether he agrees with me or not. And he's going to talk about that. And that's a good talking point, because, man, the man in the mirror, the only person that can change is the man in the mirror. They have all the support in the world. And if you truly want to change the man in the mirror, you got to find your number one enemy. What is your number one enemy? For me, it's money. Yeah, oh my God, I hate money. I hate it. That's not my number one enemy. For me, it's alcohol. The number one enemy in my life that has plagued my entire life is alcohol. I'm going to bid you a good day, and I'm going to throw it over to Kevin to touch on these things. I know he agrees and disagrees with a lot of my points. I look forward to listening to his take on the Kavanaugh and some of these other things. So to you, I wish you a wonderful week. Peace.
What's up, guys? It's Kevin Brother Sin here. We just heard Joel's take on a variety of topics, including his fight picks and some of the recent going-ons in the world of politics. And he is right. Boy, do I have an opinion. And we are going to go over that. We will go over my fight picks as well. But I'm a little heated on a few of the points, so let's just start out with that. I agree with him that Facebook can be a bit much. It can be a bit toxic. It can be a bit boisterous and in your face. No argument there. But his stance that Republicans, the right, and or Trumpies are just obnoxious, in your face, nonstop, naive, and obtuse to anything else baffles me. Because the entire presidential election cycle leading up to Trump's victory was nothing but, and I mean nothing but, Democrats and Hillary supporters just trashing Republicans, trashing Trump, going on and on and on about how the whole thing was a joke, about how he was completely unfit to be a president and how there was no way in hell he would ever get elected, and that we were all dumb, racist, misogynist, ignorant fools for supporting him and or ever thinking he could win. That was all you heard, period. And I will be the first to admit I had to unfriend people, block people, do many things of that nature because I had to do all I could to keep from getting into arguments with people, not because they had a different viewpoint. That is absolutely fine. That is America. That is what this nation is all about. Accepting, embracing different viewpoints. But when you begin to verbally assault me, insult me, degrade me because of my viewpoint, because of someone I choose to support in an election, and whether I fully agree with someone's politics or beliefs, if I am simply going to cast my vote on that November day because he or she is the lesser of the two evils in my mind, if you are going to continue to degrade me because of that choice, that's where I draw the line. And I had to do that with so many people because I got fed up with it. So for him to say now that Trumpies and Republicans are that way, it's somewhat laughable. But even if that were true, even if Facebook were a breeding ground for loudmouth, obnoxious Republicans, to me, that's sure as hell a lot better than being one of these anti-Trump people, whether it's Democrat, Libertarian, whatever it may be, who goes out and verbally assaults and attacks Republican senators, government officials, supporters in public. We've seen countless videos, whether it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, whether it was recently Ted Cruz in a restaurant. These people that are getting in their face, screaming at them, belittling them because of their job, their position, their point of view, is deplorable, period. And is it happening on the other side? Maybe, but I've not yet, not one time, seen a video clip on any leftist mainstream media site showing Republicans just denigrating Democrats in public, telling them how horrible of people they are and how they should all burn in hell. I've not seen it. So even if it is true that Republicans and Trump supporters are loud and obnoxious and in your face on Facebook, I'd sure as hell rather it be there than having somebody in my face in public screaming at me, insulting my wife, making it impossible for me to be at that place at that moment. So if you don't like it on Facebook, I say keep crying and yeah, get off. Get off the site, close your page, whatever. My second point there is if that's what Joel's seeing, somebody who lives on the West Coast in an extremely liberal state of Oregon, surrounded by folks coming from a Chicago suburb, an extremely liberal state of Illinois, if all he's seeing is all the Trumpies online in his face, what's that tell you? That tells you that it's not a fluke. Trump's election was not a fluke, in that no matter what the mainstream media and the news channels want to tell you, this is not a nation full of liberal Democrats who got screwed over in the election. It proves the point that this nation is full of people who support the right, who support conservative values, and are thrilled with the effort and the job performance that Donald Trump has done so far. So no matter what the media is trying to tell you, it's bullshit. His approval rating is 50%. The same organizations, the same people that ran and reported the polls and the approval ratings for Barack Obama are running those same polls for Donald Trump and Trump's approval ratings are exceedingly higher than Obama's were at this point in his presidency. And as of today, they might be higher than his ever were during any tenure of his 8 years. So say what you want, but Joel proves the point. We are not all brainwashed liberal Democrats in this country who got fleeced in the election. The person that the majority of this country wanted to win won, period. And on the Kavanaugh situation, the whole thing was a shit show and a sham from the beginning. She had no proof. No proof. No proof. Can I say that again? No proof. President Trump was at a rally in Alabama, I believe on Wednesday or Tuesday, speaking in front of a crowd. In his repeating of her responses during interrogation were dead on, comedic, but absolutely brilliantly to the point. Paraphrasing, her responses were as follows. Do you recall what happened? No, I don't know. When did it happen? I don't know. Who was there? I don't know. Where was it at? I don't know. Do you remember the day? I don't know. Do you remember what time? I don't know. Everything they asked her came with an I don't know type answer. She had no proof. 36 years after the fact, she tries to bring this out and has no proof. All the people she said could corroborate her story either wouldn't respond or said, no, I wasn't there. I don't know that it happened. I wasn't there. She had, and the left had no proof that anything happened. To try and condemn a man 36 years after the fact on pure hearsay is an abomination, and it's ridiculous. And then NBC puts on this second alleged victim, Carol Sweaty or something, whatever her name was. She looked ludicrous. You could tell by the look in her eyes she was nuts. They're asking her what happened if Kavanaugh has spiked this punch at these so-called gang rape parties. Well, I saw him holding a red Solo cup, and he was kind of lingering around the punch bowl, and there was punch being served at these parties, and so it just had to be him. Are you serious? NBC, you did not vet her any more than that, and you took it upon yourself to parade her out on national television and put this person in front of the camera who had even less proof than Ford. And you're going to let her make these accusations with pure hearsay basically because he was in the state of Connecticut at the time that these alleged parties happened. You're seeing how petty and imbecile the left is because of their hatred for Trump and his decisions. They will do anything and go to any length, no matter how absurd or how idiotic, to try and bring him down and crush any progress that he is trying to make. Their arguments and their case is so thinly veiled, it's ridiculous. I think the Republicans should have immediately turned the table and said, that's fine. We'll pull Kavanaugh. You wanted an investigation. We'll pull him from nomination. However, we are immediately instituting full 100% FBI background checks on every single member of Congress and Senate on both sides immediately. Then let's watch them scramble. If they want to try and pull some flimsy argument from an incident possibly 36 years ago, let's see what's in the background and in the closet of every one of these Democratic office holders nationwide. Let's see it. Let's run full background check. Let's see what they've got to hide. Because I'm sure they're all crystal clear, Windex clean, not a smudge on their record of impropriety. Are you kidding me? Get the hell out of here with this bullshit. It is nothing but detrimental to the country. You may not like Donald Trump. I don't like everything he does. I'm not always a fan of his rhetoric. However, he is making enormous economic progress. Unemployment rate 3.7%, the lowest it has been since 1969. The stock market at an all-time high. Tariffs on China. NAFTA abolished. New trade agreements with Mexico and Canada. He got out of that ridiculous environmental agreement with Europe and the European Union that everybody cried was so horrible to the environment. It was full of BS and earmarked nonsense. Steel factories in Ohio reopening because of his economic policies. Me, a middle-class business owner, receiving huge benefits from his tax reform. I'm sorry, but the fact that my first $20,000 of personal income will not be taxed, my deductions increased. And I am one of thousands. I'm one of only 19,000 State Farm agents. Every single one of those people will benefit immensely from this. That's 19,000 people that will receive huge financial relief from these tax programs. And that's just one company in one industry. He has made enormous economic progress nationwide. He is standing up for veterans. He is making major overhauls to the entire VA program. You can find flimsy arguments anywhere you want. But the meat at the heart of the matter is he is making huge progress on all fronts, and he is doing his damnedest to uphold every promise that he made. And all that everybody on the left keeps coming back to is, where is the wall? Where is the wall? That is going to take time. That was known from the beginning. And it's going to take some bipartisan support at some level. As minute as it may be, it's going to take some bipartisan support. He is making huge strides. And whether you like his immigration policies or not, he is making stride. The crime is down. Dangerous illegals are shrinking in numbers. He is making progress. The left cannot stand it. They are using Kavanaugh. They are using every other situation they can find to try and tear him down. And it's sad. So circling back to Kavanaugh, she had no proof. Was he a bad guy in college? We don't know. Were many of us not perfect citizens in college? Yeah. It's human nature. They're teenage boys. That's not to say assault of any form is ever acceptable. I've got 3 daughters. If anyone ever actually assaults my daughter in any way, they will pay the price of hell, brimstone, and fury. But as the father of also a son, you cannot just trump up false accusations 30 years after the fact, make false rape accusations, make any sort of assault accusations without proof. You can't do it. And you can make all sorts of arguments that sometimes it can't be proven after the fact and this and that. Well, I'm sorry. That sucks. In those situations, it sucks. It does. And if that happens to my daughter and she couldn't prove it and there was no way to prove it, that sucks. But legally, bound by the laws of the American Constitution, if you cannot prove it, you cannot do anything about it legally. You cannot come back 30 years after the fact and hold it against them if you cannot prove it. You can't come back 30 days after the fact and prosecute someone if you cannot prove it. If there is no burden of proof, no evidence, we cannot then condemn countless numbers of other men and young boys for something they didn't do because someone feels guilty after the fact or have ulterior motives for making a charge. Look at the Duke lacrosse rape case. Those young men were plastered across the cover of Rolling Stone, trashed in the news, blackballed, and come to find out it was all fabricated. None of it happened. We cannot, we will not, and we shall never turn to a society of guilty until proven innocent. If that becomes the norm, then everything else is out the window and it's over. It's flat out over. So that's my take on that. Let's move on. I've been fired up enough. Let's get on to the good stuff, the fights. So, my fight picks. I'll start with Derek Lewis and Volkov. I, too, like most people, like Derek Lewis. I think he's a great character. He's very outspoken, hilarious on social media. But I just think Volkov being younger, he's taller. He's like, 6'8", 6'9". He's hot right now. I just think he's got too much between Lewis's lack of cardio and Volkov's range, his ability to keep distance with his height. I'm going with Volkov. Now, Michelle Waterson, Felice Herrig. Joel's got a point that Felice has improved a good bit, but at the end of the day, she lost to Paige Van Zandt. And to be honest, I've just got no respect for Paige Van Zandt as a fighter. I don't think she's ever going to come back as a fighter with the huge increase in bosom and some of her other things. I just don't see it happening, but that's another story. But Michelle Waterson, great last outing against Tisha Torres, really just blew the brakes off of her. Plus, on a side note, Michelle Waterson is a dime piece. I mean, first team all dime piece on the cover of the the ESPN Body issue. She got those extensions there this week. She was looking on point. Absolute dime piece. And I just think she's got more well-rounded skills than Felice Herrig does. So I'm going with Waterson all day long. Karate hottie. You're my gal. Pettis. He was great. Maybe the highlight of the century for mixed martial arts. Got on the Wheaties box. Then USADA stepped in. Who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. But he fell in a deep ditch. But now he's on the come up. He's looked great in the last outing. He's starting to look a little more defined physically, looking in better shape. I think he's solid. Tony Ferguson. He's great, maybe more well-rounded, though people don't give Pettis enough credit for his ground game. Pettis is an outstanding elite grappler with his BJJ. Tony Ferguson, obviously, black belt, I believe, either brown belt or black belt through 10th Planet with Eddie Bravo. But coming off a knee injury that quickly, especially in a fight where Pettis can just pepper that leg, I got to go with Pettis. Joel's right, it may be a great comeback story if Ferguson comes back out and dominates or even wins that soon after a major knee blowout. But I got to go Pettis. I just think he gets it done, and I think he's in a better position right now. Main event. Oh, buddy, the main event. You know, all these arguments for Khabib and how he's undefeated and he's never lost a round, and once he gets you down, you can't get up. But look back on his 27 wins. Al Iaquinta, granted, is tough. He's a tough SOB. I give him all the credit. Great heart. He made it 5 rounds. But he's not elite level. He's, was number 11? So he's good, but not exactly top of the heap. Other than that, Khabib went 5 rounds with Barboza, who is explosive, but not a champ, but he's pretty good. And he beat RDA, he beat Dos Anjos 4 years ago, back in 14. Other than that, he's got nothing. I don't buy the Mike Jackson thing, or Mike Johnson, whichever one it was. I always get them confused because there's like 3 of them. But he hasn't fought anybody. A couple good matches, or good fights, a couple of good fights. But nearly all of his fights have gone the distance. He hasn't been able to put anybody away, especially not the top tier competition. And he hasn't fought anybody. He just hasn't fought the level of meat grinder that Conor has the last few years. Yeah, you can say Conor hasn't fought in 2 years, but he hasn't been sitting on the sidelines. He had the boxing match, which he trained extremely intensely for in striking, so it's not like he wasn't doing anything. And his last 3 to 4 years have been nothing but the top of the level competition. Eddie Alvarez, Nate Diaz twice, Floyd Mayweather, Max Holloway. I mean, he's faced nothing but top level competition. He faced outstanding wrestler, maybe a better takedown wrestler in Chad Mendes. Yeah, Khabib is great in Sambo, he's great on the ground and pound, all that. But Chad Mendes is a folk-style wrestler, I think is a better takedown wrestler than Khabib. And Chad took Conor down, and Conor was able to get back up. So in my mind, if Chad can take him down but can't hold him down, I don't hold much better hope for Khabib. I just don't think he has fought the level of competition that Conor has. And whether he's been stone-faced throughout all the media obligations and stone-faced in prior fights, non-emotional, I truly think Khabib does get a bit emotional in this fight. He makes a mistake. Conor's use of distance allows him to capitalize on that mistake and clip him. I just don't see Khabib coming out in this one. I don't see it being a dominating performance. I just don't think people are giving Conor enough credit for his well-rounded skills. And I think people are giving Khabib too much credit for his record and the whole stigma, the whole aura of Khabib wrestling a bear. But his 27 wins are 23 nobodies, 3 decent guys, and maybe 1 very quality opponent in RDA back 4 years ago. So I just don't give him all the praise and glory that everybody else is. So I've got Conor. I've got Conor doing it early in the second round by TKO. Takes him down, gets on, gets a few shots in before they can stop it. So that's my prediction. That's my fight card prediction. Take it to the bank, lock it up. It's good as gold. Boom.
And to wrap it up, I do want to touch on the topic that Joel ended his segment with, on him dealing with alcohol and feeling how that has definitely played a role in him not being where he feels he should be in life, among some other, choices which he admits were not the best choices at the time. Some things that have kind of derailed his train of success, but he feels obviously that alcohol is an issue that causes a myriad of after effects with nutrition and lack of training and other things, that it's just not a benefit to him, and he is consciously trying to improve that part of his life, to get over that hurdle, to remove that vice from his life. So I applaud him for that, because he is genuinely trying to make an effort, and that's half the battle. And it destroys so many people. It truly does. Many people, it does far worse things than it's done in Joel's life. On a personal level, I'm going through that right now, not myself, but my only sister, my only sibling, 32 years old, has been battling for well over a decade with substance issues. Honestly, she spent some time in jail. She's been on house arrest with an alcohol monitor. She's been in treatment. She's had DUI. She's had accidents, but she can't ever keep herself clean. I say clean, not with drugs, but clean from alcohol. And it has had a tremendously negative effect on our family, especially my parents, who have gone above and beyond, even by normal parent standards, to help her, to bail her out of situations, to take care of her, to do what they thought was best to help lift her up. And time again, it hasn't worked. Most recently, she just got out of a week in the hospital where she went in because they thought it was some other issue. She had fallen down, wasn't sure if she'd bumped a head, etc. But once she got in there, she actually admitted to the doctor that she was a full-blown alcoholic, which at that point they were able to determine all her symptoms were not from a fall, but she was actually going through withdrawal. She had gone about a week without drinking in an effort to get sober, and withdrawal had started to hit her with some very negative effects. So she spent a week in there. Hopefully it helps, but to be honest, she got released from the hospital, went right back to her boyfriend, someone who may not be a bad guy, but has not done anything to dissuade her or keep her distanced from drinking and the alcoholism. And unlike Joel, who is consciously making an effort to attempt to better himself and get away from that, she just does not seem to, A, either have the willpower, or B, just not feel it's important enough to make a real effort or check herself into treatment. And, my wife and I talk about it at length, and it breaks our heart that we are deathly afraid it's going to end tragically for her because she just will not make the effort. She surrounds herself with the wrong people she thinks are her friends, her lifelong friends, the only people she feels have stood by her, but people that honestly are terrible influences, people that just do nothing but bring her down and put her in bad situations, because maybe they can go out and drink all the time and get involved in that lifestyle and not get consumed with it. Unfortunately, she does, and I hope it gets better for her, but I just don't see her making the right choices and the right efforts, and there's only so much you can do as a bystander, as a family member. You can't force things upon them. You can't force people into treatment to get better. So Joel is making the choice to get better, to try and get better. Many people don't, and it just snowballs, and it's a vicious cycle, and basically it destroys and hurts the people around you. So if you are somebody who's dealing with that, who's dealing with substance abuse or alcohol, if you want the truth is man up. Make the right choice to get better. This may hurt some feelings, and some people may not jive with this, but I don't believe in addiction, especially alcohol addiction. I believe it's a choice. I believe you can choose to drink and get drunk and become an alcoholic, or you can choose not to. Me personally, I could drink all day, every day for 7 straight days and just stop and walk away and not drink anymore. And I don't think I'm anything special. I don't believe in the whole alcohol addiction thing. And I know that probably ruffles feathers, but I just don't. So if you're somebody who drinks, has a problem, it's affecting your life, make the choice. Man up, woman up, make the choice to get help, to seek help, stop hurting those around you, and let it stop derailing your life. It may not be ruining your life. You may be fully functional, good job, good family, but deep down you know it's derailing what could be. So make that choice. Make the choice to get better. Do what Joel is doing. Put it out there in the world. Make the efforts to get better. Take it upon yourself, one step at a time, but take that step. Do not turn your back and walk the other way because it's too hard. Just do it. Every journey begins with one step. If you need to beat something, if you need to get over alcoholism or substance abuse, take that first step. Just do it. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. But in my eyes, that's the truth. We'll be back next week, guys. Peace.